the Global Digest think tank group. We are sharing global crisis issue. We talk with different experts from different countries. Some are scientists, some are UN, and some are professor, some are, lawyer, different people we are talking in this think tank group. So before we start our discussion, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? Where are you now and what is your background? Please.
My name is Marus Bomangba. I'm from the Republic of Benin. I'm a PhD candidate in international law at Wuhan University in China. But right now, I'm in my country, Benin, because of the coronavirus pandemic. I was not able to travel. And I'm also working as a consultant with the UNDP country office here in Benin on issues of, as you said, climate change and agricultural, smart agricultural resilience issues.
So now you are in Benin or
I'm in Benin now. Do you know where Benin is? It?
In West Africa, right?
Yeah, in West Africa. And I'm a person of legal background. I have a master's degree in international law from Wuhan University in China. That was in 2019. And before then, I have also a master's degree in international relations at Enviromental University in Benin in 2014.
I think Wuhan is the beginning of coronavirus, right?
Yes, it was the starting point.
You was there at the time in Wuhan?
Yes.
But
I left the country.
Can you a little bit explain your experience at the beginning of coronavirus in Wuhan? How do you see the environment? How the disaster was happened? It was very immediately. It was spreading very quickly.
Yeah, as it has been reported, it was scary and at the same time very stressful for people, everybody, especially people from outside. As a person of another nationality, I'm not a Chinese, so imagine that people from China themselves, they were stressed, like people were dying every day, people were suffering from the disease, but we were not allowed to go out as international students. You were only confined in your dormitory, and you will be tested 3 times a day. In the morning, in the afternoon, and before going to bed, you will do the testing, PCR testing every time. Even for food, you are only allowed to go out for food when they call you, and then you will form a queue to be waiting for your turn to get food and go again to your dormitory, which means the lockdown was very, very stressful, and it has caused international students some mental problem. People were very scared for dying, and people were, let me tell you that it was a very bad situation that nobody could expect it. Yeah.
So it was very tight lockdown at the time.
Very tight lockdown with many measures. Chinese were pushing measures. Like what I'm telling you, it's only when you experience that kind of life that you know what is to be happy and to be free. It's like almost prison. Right. That's why when Chinese people, they ask people now to come back, I'm not going. I told them I'm not coming back. I will finish my study online. Because till now, my fellow students in Wuhan are still in lockdown. Let me tell you the truth.
I see. Till today, it's still locked down.
When you go to Wuhan University today, people are still in lockdown. Not like before, but they are only allowed when they register and they are given permission for some hours to go out.
I see. It's still
that is it.
Locked down, right? So by the way, because of very tight lockdown, it can prevent from virus outbreak or spreading. That's good for student, isn't it?
For the whole country, as a big country like China, it is good for them to prevent the spreading of the virus by making lockdown necessary. But as a small group of international students, I don't think it was necessary all the measures that I have put at place. No, we know where we go, we know what we do. Only for libraries to market and buy food is not enough to be the causes of outbreak. No, but since country China is a very large country and very big, even Wuhan city is a very large city, to be able to control the epidemic, I think it was the right thing that they did. It was the right decision for some people to be safe, because people have died. They made all the lockdown, the measures, but still people died. So, but I think the decision made for preventing the more spreading of the virus was okay. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, it was very, quickly spreading the virus. How do you think the coronavirus outbreak it is beginning from the uh, animal, or it's mentioned they got the virus because they eat bat and those pork or something, so the virus came from those kind of animal and spreading to the human body. So how did you see when you was in China, and you may know a little bit the environment in Wuhan at the time?
This question is a very sensitive question, and I have to be very careful when answering that. They are still finding the real causes of the coronavirus. But as an environmentalist, what I can tell you is that when we talk of zoonotic is viruses or diseases that break from animal to human. Yep, the actual cause and the actual factor of coronavirus is mainly directed to be zoonotic. That means from pangolin to human being. So I'm not having any real evidence. I don't have scientific evidence to say is this true or not. Only the scientific, like the WHO has directed people to go for investigation, is only the result of the investigation that will show truly whether it is true or not. But from what I know, I can tell you that yes, like I'm from Africa, and you knew that in 2013, 2014, in Africa, there was the virus called Ebola.
Right.
Have you heard of Ebola virus?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
It
So
started in Africa, right?
Yeah, when it started in Africa, people didn't know what was the real causes of Ebola. But after the investigation or the scientific research, they find out that it is a zoonotic disease, which means from rats that people were eating in the villages to human beings. So I'm sure we are not yet convinced of what is the causes of coronavirus, but for what I have known, yeah, it is a zoonotic disease. And we have even had a classes in last year with one of the professors from China, and he was like, yes, we don't know exactly what is the causes of coronavirus, but let us say it's supposed to be more zoonotic, which means from animal to human being, than people saying that it is a scientific made for war. No, it's not scientific made for war. It's not made in a laboratory. I can tell you, it's not made in laboratory at all.
Yeah, people are expecting there's some laboratory in China military. They invented coronavirus and they spread the whole world for a kind of declaring war, virus war, something like that. So, but you don't believe that.
not only I don't believe, but from what I have seen, people also died in Wuhan. People also died in many parts of China. So, what was the interest of Chinese people to make a virus that will kill their own population and then affect more their own population and economy than outside? Like people were thinking that the coronavirus will cause millions of deaths in Africa, but no, it didn't happen. Do you know that people have died more in China and in Europe, in America, than people have died in Africa? Right? So
Yeah.
I don't see how they were able to do something that will harm their own people and also harm their own economy. So scientifically, we have to wait for the investigation, the research to be done so that we can be able to talk.
So when you was in Wuhan, did you see at the time, did you see the Wuhan people or surrounding that area, the beginning of virus area?
Yeah, it is
It
just a market
is
that
in Wuhan city or outside Wuhan city? Exactly.
no, it is inside Wuhan city where people used
I
to
see.
buy food. The place where they are talking about is the place that we have been there for many times for buying fish and everything. It's a market
It's meat
in the
market
city.
or something like that.
Yeah,
And
it's a market in the city itself.
I see. It is you saw the you know the virus was started at the meat market. Do you see the Wuhan people? They eat uncooked meat or fresh raw meat. Uncooked meat like uncooked fish or chicken or any meat. That might cause easy to happen coronavirus. How's the people in Wuhan? They like too much uncooked meat. But how
From
do
my
you
own
see
witness, from
in
my own witness,
in
I
that
have
city the people eating? How
no.
did you see them? They eating uncooked one or they eat cooked meat?
I have not visited every family in China, in Wuhan, but I have
Maybe in
been
restaurant is
in
offer
restaurant,
a
and
lot of
I also
uncooked
have
meat.
no. I also have a friend, Chinese friend in Wuhan. I visited their home. They cook for me, and I ate. But I have never seen someone eating uncooked meat. Let us be frank. I've never seen
I
that.
see.
So maybe some people do that. I didn't say it's not true, but I have never seen people eating uncooked meat or uncooked fish. Do you
So
get my point?
you can say most they are eating cooked meat, right?
Yeah. In every restaurant, you ask for something you are served. Is what you ask for in a restaurant that they are giving to you.
Because
Do you see what
usually in East Asia, they eat a lot of raw meat, uncooked meat, and those things. That raw meat can be more, the virus can survive and spread to the human body. That's why I
Yeah,
want
yes,
to check Wuhan
you
people
are right.
eating
Like, do you
habit.
know the hot pots? Like, they bring the uncooked meat in your front and you put the spices in your front and then put a hot water. That's what you ask. But personally, I have never experienced someone eating uncooked meat.
I see. You did not see that. I see.
No, I didn't see it. So it is from my perspective. Another
Okay.
person in the same city may have seen what I have not seen. So I'm talking about from my own experience.
What you have experience working in United Nations?
You know, United Nations is the global organization in terms of peacekeeping, in terms of international development, in terms of global issues and emerging issues. I did 6 months with the UNDP as an intern, and I can say that they are trying to solve many problems at the same time, but it is not always successful because every day problems keep coming. So even if they have the will to do better or to do more, they are limited in terms of time and in terms of resources. That's what I noticed from my experience at the UNDP.
You work in UNDP, which department and which city, country, how long you work?
You know, I have worked as hybrid, which means 70% of the time I work online with New York, the headquarters in New York. 70% of the time I work online with UNDP New York, which means the headquarters. But sometimes I'm at the Benin country office, UNDP Benin country office, where I have my office, and I did substantial researches. I support the work of the governance team or the climate change team in many and various areas.
So they pay or they don't pay you?
There is a truth I will tell you today, and for everybody that's willing to work as intern for UNDP. There are many agencies at the UNDP who don't pay their interns, but UNDP, UNICEF, ILO, WHO, and WHO, they pay their intern. So at UNDP, I was a paid intern. I was given money.
At least
but some people, like when they want to work for the UNFCCC, UNEP, you are not going to get any money. They have to keep in mind. So there are only 19 agencies within the UN system that pay the intern.
I see.
That is it.
So you can still survive, right?
Yeah.
What kind of project mainly you have done during your internship in UN?
I work on a project that we call Songhai 2.0. The project is mainly about climate resilient agriculture. Like we have been forming young people to go into agribusiness. At the same time, it's about agriculture, but not only farming. When people have farming and the product out of the farm, they have to sell it. So we put a network together for them to be making the cultivation of crops and looking at the market by using new technology, because you know it's a real challenge now when we talk about climate change. So what are the solutions that we can give to youth in agriculture to survive? That's what we call adaptation.
I see.
And we provide them new technology by giving them substantial funding so that they can buy the technological product they want. And at the same time, when they go to farm, the kind of crops they should cultivate. You know, there are consequences of climate change that there are some places where there is more rain and there are some places very dry where there is no rain, you know? So how to deal with those issues and be producing crops when there is rain or where there is no rain. So that's mainly the agricultural part of my work, but I was also a kind of administrative assistant to the main representative in Benin here. I applied directly to New York. It was online. And everything that pertains to the UN system is done online. Even if it's your country that is promoting the position, you have to apply online. That's what I did. And I was taken for a place in New York, but I couldn't make it to New York. That's why they gave me an office here in Benin.
International climate law, it is, I mean, the program is related to UN.
To the work of the
UN system, or it is, I mean, the course, the program, it is offered from university, that international.
Yeah, it is offered from a university, Wuhan University. There is a department they call, let me say, the School of Law has an institute called Research Institute of International Environmental Law. That's where I'm doing my PhD program. And they have offered the program that I'm studying, which is Science of Environment and Natural Resource Protection Law. Yeah. It is offered by the university.
Usually, I know international law is usually we study about United Nations system, you know,
Yeah.
United Nations, the human rights law or any law, it's mainly initiated by United Nations. So what you usually learn from the university?
Yeah, you know, as I told you, I'm more focused now on international environmental law and international climate law, which means I have to deal with international environmental agreement. Like you must be aware of MEAS. It's called multilateral environmental agreement, like the Paris Agreement,
Right.
which is supposed to be under the climate regime, like the Kyoto Protocol, like the UNFCCC, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Law. They are all what we call MIAs, multilateral environmental agreements. And at the same time, when you go for pollution, and the PP, the polluter principle pays, it derived for international law. So that's basically what we learn in terms of international environmental law. But at the same time, it has to do with the international governance of environmental issues. So when you say basically we learn international law from the UN system is international public law, like diplomatic studies, international relations. But when you go for specialty like the one I'm doing, you go into deep to your own topic, to your own subject.
How did you learn the disaster issue is part of a climate issue or it is separate subject?
The questions, let me answer in two steps.
Did you study both subjects?
Yeah, of course. They are one. When we look at climate disaster, when we look at climate disaster like flooding, what happened in Pakistan last month?
Right.
Have you heard of what happened in Pakistan last month?
Flood, right? Heavy rain.
Yeah, flood in Pakistan, in Nigeria, in Cote d'Ivoire, even in Benin. That's a kind of climate disaster. They are natural disaster and they are human being disaster. So when you talk of climate change, you automatically talk of natural disaster because people cannot control the rain that is falling and how heavy it is. But we all know the causes of climate change, right? We know from the beginning of the industrial countries, the richest, how they have developed by using what? By using fossils. So now that we are experiencing the consequences, that's where the disaster happened. When you go to the Sahara in Africa, they call it the Sahel. There are places where you cannot find water at all during 1 year. So imagine people living without water. And at the same time, at some part of the globe, like in Pakistan, they are having heavy rain causing floods. So natural disaster happen every day now and then because of climate change. So we study both at the same level as international environmental law or international disaster law, but we call it risk management.
Right, both are correlated, you know. It is,
yeah,
it's true.
So I have already submitted 3 articles now. And in those 3 articles that I submitted, I look at my own country's study as case. And at the same time, I also look at the continental case, like for the whole Africa, and I talk of climate governance in Africa, the institutional and the legal framework on the continent. For my dissertation, I'm working on China and Africa when it comes to energy transition, because we say green energy or renewable energy, right? How to deal with climate change at this time, and at the same time incorporate the question of renewable energy. What are the lessons we can learn from China? And what are the initiatives on the African continent? How to relate for a more just and advanced transition. That's it.
Do you see China is very much pay attention on the climate change or environment issue? They implementing a lot of international climate law, or they are not much pay attention? How did you see in case of China?
China, compared to the US or Europe or all the developed countries today, is most aware of climate change, and they are taking more action than those countries, because all the international law that you have on paper, they have been implementing most of them since 20 years now. Yeah, before they were not much into climate action or into environmental action. But now, since the regime of Hu Jintao, they have been making a lot of efforts. Yeah, they have been
I
making
see.
a lot.
China is paying attention, is good things.
Yeah, it's
but
very good
China
thing.
also
And
polluting a lot, they also
yeah, China is the first
industry.
polluter in the world. Not hide the truth. China is the first polluter country in the world. But at the same time, they are polluting. They are now having mitigation measures, mitigation action. That's what we say. And they're also ready for financing in terms of fighting against environmental harm. So we will not say China is not doing bad, but we will not say they are doing good. No, they are progressing, which is very good.
China is better than the Europe or America or Japan compared to other countries, because China much pay attention in terms of climate issue, environmental issue.
Yeah,
it's right.
That's what
So can we blame Western country or industrialized country for not pay attention climate issue? It's a threat for our human being future climate issue.
The question is not to blame. The blame is already there. It has been legally recognized in the UNFCCC. When I talk of UNFCCC, I talk of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1992, in the principle that we have what we call CBDR principle, common but differentiated responsibilities. Those countries that have polluted the world and that have caused harm to the environment must bear the responsibility of paying back. And that's also what we have in the Kyoto Protocol, and it has been also internationally recognized in the Paris Agreement that Western countries, especially developed countries, should support developing and small countries to adapt and to mitigate to climate change. What we mean by CBDR is that the support must be financial support, technological support, and technological transfer, and knowledge, communication, and everything. They have the duty to support countries like Benin, countries like yours country in Asia. So what we are noticing now is that they are not implementing the legal obligation. That's the whole situation now.
Implementation.
Okay, implementation, and they know that they have to do that, and they are not doing it. In the 2 weeks in Egypt, we will have what we call COP27. COP27, and it is about climate change. It is about UNFCCC. Everybody knows that we need adaptation fund. We need money to adapt, and the money can only come from the developed country because they are the one who polluted, who caused harm to the environment. And they
Right.
said, yes, we will give you $100 billion. Since when we say $100 billion in 2015 in Paris, till now, we are still lacking of funds. We are still lacking money. So that's the whole situation.
They did
And
not pay.
no, they are not paying. Exactly.
Um,
That's what we're saying. Even last year in Glasgow, just last year in Glasgow, at the COP26, they pledged to give more money. But where is the money? There is no money given.
so if they pay, where the money gone?
Yeah, that's why we have the mechanism of the GEF, the green environmental facilities and the green climate change fund, the GCF, which is in Korea. That's where the money goes. And from there, each country will now develop scale program and projects to come and ask for money. So when the money has gone to the GEF or the GCF, you are not as individual allowed to go for money, but your government, your country can submit projects. Like 2 months ago, Benin and Gambia have reached an agreement with the FAO to have $65 million to build climate resilient agriculture in the countries. So that's how it's supposed to do, but it's very, very low compared to what is needed.
I see. So
Yeah.
one thing is the money pay, but the implementation is not doing well. They are not
And the money is not enough.
well implementation.
And the
Even
money is not
they
enough.
pledge 100 million, something like that.
$1 billion, yeah.
Yeah, $100 billion. Something that is not, it is far low to
The
the
needs.
requirement, the need of the
Exactly, to the
global
needs.
environmental
Exactly.
issue. So
That's it.
there are two issues, right?
Yeah.
So first thing, even the small, or I mean, over 1 billion is not that small. It's a good amount of money. In fact, it's not enough. But why we should not manage properly the existing money and implement properly? That's also important. I think maybe there are also some corruption among the management.
Yeah, but before we come to corruption, what I'm suggesting is that the developed countries in their pledge, what they're supposed to give is not what they are giving. But still, the second problem you mean is corruption, which is true, very true. But as an expert of international environmental law, let me talk from my perspective.
Okay,
Okay?
yeah.
You pledge that you will be given 100 billions per year for adaptation in Africa. And you have not been given that amount of money. So you are not going to look into the corruption that is happening in the countries. No, first give. And the Paris Agreement has also established what we call accountability, how the money is spent. So the accountability is there to say that, okay, this money that we have given is well spent or is not well spent. So yeah, still there is mechanism to judge or to test what has been done with the money given. But the money is not yet given, it's not sufficient. That's the pledge that people, the developing countries now in COP27 in Egypt next week will be doing. That's the advocacy they are going for.
Yeah, I understand you are explaining, the thing is what they want to pay and what the people the developing country needed and they wanted is always unmatched. They are not always able to hook up each other.
Yeah.
They pay something, but the one they need something, you know. So that is also it's management corruption, you know. The one who manage such kind of program has to properly, you know, arrange. They should arrange from the donor what they should prepare to pay, and they should also arrange for recipient developing country what they need, what they should get. There should be match between the donor and between donor and recipient. So these are always mismanaged. I mean, that is one of corruption, and they did not properly arrange. They are ignorance. I mean, there are mechanism, the system, something wrong.
No. You are right, but at the same time, it's not quite like that. There is an international mechanism that is put into place where the donor countries, the developed countries, they know that they found that they have to provide. It should go through GCF or GEF or adaptation funds. Many mechanisms are put into place for them to give the money there. So the same system work with developing countries submitting projects and programs for receiving money. At that level, there is not yet mismanagement problem. Is because the developed country don't have the goodwill. They don't have the goodwill to do it.
So
That's what we are.
that's political will is important. You know, if one thing is once they agree, if they pledge to pay over $100 billion, I mean, they should anyway, they should pay if they have committed, you know, they should pay for the right time, the right place, the right program.
Exactly.
That is they supposed to do. That is a kind of obligation because they already pledged, you know.
That's exactly what I'm telling you about, that there is what we call the writing legal obligation. So what is written in the treaties, in the international law, that's what we have as legal obligation. But those who have to comply with the obligation are not doing so, or are not doing well. So you get my point. So what is written on paper is there that we recognize, we as developed countries, that we have to support developing countries to adapt and to mitigate climate adverse impact. We play to give them $100 billion, this amount each year for this and for that program. But that is well written on the paper, and everybody knows, and developing countries are waiting for the money to come, and it is not coming, which means there is a problem, leadership problem in the developed countries. Those who are ruling, like before President Joe Biden, the one who was there was completely against the United States giving any money for climate change. Do you remember? Donald Trump was completely against giving money for climate change. But now that Joe Biden has come, he said, yes, we enter again into the Paris Agreement and we have to fulfill our obligation. The obligation is also the money we're talking about, but still now, no funding yet. That's also part of my research when I was doing my master in 2019. And I was like, the need in terms of financial support, in terms of technological transfer, the gap is very, very big. The gap for African countries, for countries in Latin America, for countries in Southeast Asia, the gap is very big to fulfill.
Right.
That is it. That's what we're talking about. That's why we have advocacy. That's why we have climate campaigns. And I know from your side, you must be hearing of how people are involved in climate action every day.
Right. I mean,
Even this discussion that we are having now is also part of that kind of awareness.
of course, we are doing
Exactly.
advocating. We are public advocacy about this global issue, climate issue, environmental issue, disaster issue. Definitely, we are doing that. As you said, I agree. Once the country had committed, they pledged they will pay whoever leader. It doesn't matter, the country has pledged already. So whether Trump or Biden, they should pay. I mean, they already pledged. It's not individual issue, It's not individual leader interest. It should be the country viewpoint. They must act. They should pay on time and appropriate time, appropriate program. Don't make illusion or such kind of complicated. It's not helpful for implementation and to change, to develop climate problem. So that is, we can say, corruption, because the leader are not doing on time, appropriate program, and ignorance, this and this. That suffer the whole world. So that every developed country, every leader should aware that such thing don't make the whole world suffer because of their, their individual, that's, we can say, their individual leadership, lack of their individual leadership and their own personal interests. They should not do like that. They have to do according to the country already pledged, They work for the country, not for their own interests. So every developed country should do.
No, they signed. They signed.
All of them, they sign?
Yes. It is only after the signature on in 2017 that Donald Trump, when after he came to power, he withdrew USA from the Paris Agreement. But when Biden came back, he now restored the Paris Agreement as one of the laws of the United States. So the biggest countries, what we call the developed countries, the industrialized countries, they are all parts of the Paris Agreement. They are all part of the UNFCCC. The UNFCCC is the United Nations Convention on Climate Change. They are also part of the Kyoto Protocol. Those are the three treaties, the three agreements that govern the international climate negotiation. Everything is under the umbrella. You cannot talk about climate finance, climate technology, or any climate action without mentioning the UNFCCC. It is impossible. The UNFCCC is the whole thing. So when you understand the UNFCCC and how it functions, you will understand climate action and climate global issue. And then they are all parts of that UNFCCC. The only problem, as I'm telling you, is the implementation of the legal binding, implementation, the fulfillment of the legal obligations. How to push them to act according to the commitment. That's all the advocacy that we have to do everywhere in the world.
Implementation, you are still keep saying about implementation,
Yeah,
that is very important.
Fulfillment of obligation in every sense. When you have commitment and you have given your word for that, it became a promise, and the climate promise should be fulfilled legally and morally.
Right. That's part of it's become political will, international politics. So sometimes US or China or Japan or Europe, once they has political favor, they will pay. If they don't favor, they will not pay. Something like that. That should not be happen. There should be, they should not do like that. All these developed country, US, European, or Japan, China, or any country, stop. Don't do like that. Once your political favor, in favor, you pay. If you don't have favor, you don't pay. Don't do like that. Nowadays, we have to work for the whole world climate issue, even you favor or not favor, your pledge, your agreement, whoever leader must pay. That is global new world order, If you don't follow new world order, the whole world will be crisis. It will be blamed to the one who failed to pay or who failed to act, who failed to implement that, either US or European or Japan or any country. That is our message today.
Yeah.
So, Maros, how do you think the future, the climate change or environmental issue process, how the progress is going on now? Is far away to go, or is doing something, some step?
Thank you for your question. It depends on how we as individual we act every day. At the same time, how political leaders in the world act. So everything will depend on next week. You will say why? Why is next week very important? I mean, the 2 weeks coming are very important. We are going for the COP27 in Egypt. And do you know what this COP is called? It's called adaptation COP, adaptation funding, which means we need money to adapt to climate change. What are the decisions to be made in Egypt in 2 weeks' time? How the decision made will be implemented in different countries? How the leaders and the different stakeholders at the COP27 are going to understand themselves and agree upon the right way forward. That's where the case rests. Everything depends on the 2 weeks' time. Although every day we know we have our own role to play. Like you and I, we should know how to protect the environment by maybe advocating for planting more trees in different area, or maybe using the circular economy principle, which is the 3RR. I know you must know what you call the 3RRs.
I don't know.
The 3RRs is what we say recycle, and reuse. The product that you buy today, how after using it, you will not put it into the dustbin, or maybe when it is a dustbin, it may be taken again for another process. Yeah, we have to be recycling products, and the recycled product will now be made again for reproduction and reuse. So that is it. Is every day our own actions plus the action that the leaders at the COP27 and at the stakeholders at different level, the role they are going to play. The first R is reduce. Reduce using a lot of products. When you don't need the product, don't buy it. Okay?
So reduce, then recycle,
Then when you use it, put it in the dustbin in a way that it can be recycled.
Right.
And the third one is reuse.
Reuse.
Because when it is recycled, people can use it to make again another product to be reused.
Like the
So,
recycle, we here used to put different boxes, different bags for food trash, or bottle trash or plastic trash and paper trash. We can differentiate each trash that we can be reused, which are useful, so
yeah,
that
like
can be
that
individually we can do from
something
everywhere, from every country.
everywhere.
So do what you can do in your individual level, and do what you can do in your country level, like planting a tree. Many countries can do. It is not necessary international donation. They can do many things. Do it
That's
local
what I
level.
used to do with my own NGO. I created an NGO in 2019, which is called Healthy Climate Action. And we used to plant trees every month.
Right.
When you have your birthday
It's
celebration, you
good.
have to plant some trees. When you have a baby born, go and plant a tree and name that tree after the baby which is born. So those are the smallest action that we can take every day,
Yeah.
every time, everywhere to participate in the regreening of the planet.
According to
So
globally pledged over $100 billion. So among the over $100 billion, how much maximum each country can apply for the project? How much they can get the maximum project amount?
no,
They can
no, no,
get
no,
more than
no.
1 billion, 2 billion, or
Yeah, yeah, it depends on.
is there limitation or no limitation?
There is no limitation as far as you have a
I see.
project that respect the requirements,
I see.
because there are standards to be followed, there are rules to be followed.
Because
When you
my
follow
point is,
the
if every country apply, it won't be enough for distributing 1 billion each.
exactly, then the standard must be very high for your project to qualify for the fund.
I see.
You
So,
see.
so
That is it.
today we discuss about one is global responsibility, especially industrialized country and developed country. They have to fulfill their obligation to pay as they pledge. In fact, over 100 billion is not sufficient for global climate issue. Now the research found we need much more fund for global climate issue to solve the
Exactly.
problem. And
Exactly.
second thing is local level. Each country can do their own capacity to improve climate issue, environmental issue. Even individual can do, as we discuss about trash. We have to throw trash properly, food trash, plastic
And
trash,
then
paper
from your
trash,
own
bottle
house,
trash. So those things we are discussing
you know,
today. Yes.
we can be advocating from our own house how to live environmental friendly. As I said, you teach your children to behave friendly to the environment. Don't put that trash out, put it in the dustbin. That's going to be recycled and to be reused somewhere.
Right.
And at the same time, reduce buying stuff. Like you buy this bag today and you think it's not that old, it's already old. No, people are still needing that old bag. Why going for
Right.
new things when you have something that you can repair? So you can repair things and not throw it away.
Yes. Some
So the
country
three R's
definitely,
are very important.
some country and some family definitely is true. They are over overwhelming food, which they cannot eat all. And most they have almost half are throw away. So these are, also affected to climate issue. So
Exactly.
don't eat, don't buy and don't eat over what you have capacity.
That's what we call
That,
reduce.
yes, that's a
The first
family can
R,
do, you know.
reduce,
And
reduce.
some country in Africa or many poor country in Asia, they have no sufficient for eating, no sufficient food like that. Some has
Exactly.
plenty of food and some has no plenty of food. Those gap are there and we have to adjust. Who has so many food, don't take all and don't eat what you don't have capacity to eat. That
Then
we
you have
have
to
to
share.
tell.
You have to share with people.
Definitely they should share who has no food. And you know, we have to recycle our trash properly. That individual can do for climate and environment issue. So thank you very much, Maros, for tonight. We are advocating the whole world. It's a new world order for climate issue for everybody, every country. There is no politics. Don't play politics in this climate environmental issue.
Because everybody is affected.
Commit. You have to commit and implement uh, our
Legal
beautiful
blind obligation.
for our beautiful world, our beautiful planet in the future. Otherwise, we all will be in trouble in the crisis. Climate crisis is happening, you know. So thank you, Maros.